How's it going, everybody? I'm having a great day. It's kind of gross out. It's windy and wet and just went to the dump. It's funny, I know when it's dump day because the wind's always 90 mile an hour from the north. And of course, being in the wide open here, it's interesting. You throw a bag and it goes shoo. But so I just ran to the dump. Last night, I got a little carried away, friends. I started puttering with the old Homelite here, and next thing I knew, I had the cylinder on and ignition system, etc., etc. I haven't gone too far, though. I want to get this thing running. I'm really interested to see what it's going to do, how it's going to react, and the only way to know is to just keep pressing forward. I'll bring you guys here in close, and I'll kind of show you where we're at. Okay, here's the engine block. I got the studs mounted for that crazy little pipe that I made, and Loctite it on, so those are ready to go. I put the cylinder on, you guys can see right here, 4 bolts, washers and nuts, or 4 studs, washers and nuts. I got that all done. And then have a look-see at the ignition system in case you take one of these apart. What does it say here? Generator, and the other one says transformer. Okay. This one here goes to this wire right here, and then this one here goes to there. Okay, and then there's one more wire, and that goes down and around here to your kill switch. Here it is right here. Okay, see, and it comes out the other side. So that's about all I did. I mounted this bearing carrier in, Loctited all 3 screws or bolts. There's another bolt up top here. There's that rubber O-ring that goes in. That's about it. I got the timing key back on. So I'm just gonna back you guys up here. Let's put the flywheel on. Well, I need to change the fitting on my hose. Okay, I'm going to line up the timing key. There you go. So we fix that here. Okay, I'm going to line up the timing key and put the nut and the washer on. I'm glad I bagged everything good for this saw. It's all right here, ready to rock and roll. Just give me a second here. I'll get us ready to go. Okay. Move the pawls out of the way. Those down. This is a 9/16 or 14 mil. Make sure that your springs are on your starter drive here, your starter dogs. Otherwise, they're kind of flippy floppy. You gotta, on these Homelites, they got these really tiny wee little springs here. Okay, and I'm just gonna put this on with the impact. I'll put it on setting 2 so they don't strip nothing. There we go. Should be good right there. We can always double check it later. Okay, now I gotta space out the ignition pickups here. So this is a 3-piece ignition. The centerpiece, this one, and then there's the coil. Little bit different than what you'd see on a normal saw, but it does the trick. I'm just going to take this piece of cardboard here. And where are my magnets? I hit you guys here. And it is... Oh. Hey friends. I had 2 sets of nuts out. I have a lot of Homelite parts kicking around. I used to buy them all the time. Oh geez, there we go. An extra nut and a lock washer. Okay. So we know where the magnets are now, don't we? Let's put this back on there. Let's see, where are the magnets? Right here. Okay. Stick this down there. Now I'm going to undo this wire. I just put it there so that I remembered where everything went. Sometimes it's hard to remember everything. Okay, I'm just going to bend that tab gently. Pull this wire off. There we go. Okay, so we got a screw here. Undo that one. Undo this one. This thing has a nice strong flywheel magnet, so I'm not super worried. I mean, you can put a screwdriver in here and put some tension on it and just snug it down. Same thing with this side, just to make sure. If your gap's too big, it'll throw off the spark. If your gap's too small, you'll end up rubbing, which does happen. Okay, screw these down. There we go, there's that. Now, I fished out some really, really nice parts for this thing. Sorry, friends. I spin this by hand to make sure it's not going to rub. And it seems like it's good to go. This thing's got gobs of compression now. So, I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm just going to back you guys out here just a smidge. Don't mind the bench. That's how you know we're getting things done. I dug this out from my parts stash. This is a really, really nice handle for this saw. So I've shined her up. The rubber is still attached, so that's nice. The only difference, this bucking saw has the screw through here for the idle. Both of my saws have an idle screw on the carburetor, so I had to push the plug out here, and then I'll have to. Here's Buckin's handle. It's got the tape on it. We can't leave it like that, right? Okay, I'm gonna have to take this out and screw it into the other one. Okay, and here it is. This thing's never had an idle screw in it. So I find that interesting about Homelites. There's so many variations on the same saw. I've had saws that are the same. One will have a Tillotson, one will have a Walbro SDC on it for carburetor. It's an interesting deal. Okay, I'm just going to finish screwing that in. Okay, and there we go. So that's in there. I'll put this off to the side. We're getting real close here. Pretty much got everything cleaned. I found this recoil. Buckins is a little scarred up, so this one's good. It's got a perfect rope in it. Feels good. It's got the most of the duckling still on, shined up. So we'll put this one onto this saw. Okay, I think I'm going to put the handle on first. It's pretty neat actually. Buckin's saw still had the metal gasket in between the handle and the body of the saw. You don't see that very often, at least not around my area. I believe it goes this way. No, it goes this way. Okay. Now I'm going to have to dig out the oil lines. Oil lines, which are in here. Here's our reed cage. We'll have to clean that up. Reed block right here. And all the hardware. The saw's in great shape. The gaskets are still even all there, and they look good. I didn't disturb them really at all to take this saw apart, so a lot of times you can reuse the gaskets on these. I'm going to try and see if it seals up, it seals up. If not, we'll make new gaskets. When you can take these things apart and not disturb them, that's kind of preferred. Before we can put the handle on, I have to put the oil pump back on. I almost forgot. I was going to put the handle on first. But let's put the oil pump on. These things leak oil profusely. It's actually kind of funny. Okay, so we got our oil pump. Oil pump goes like that, up and down. Again, we didn't disturb the gaskets or anything, so hopefully, just gonna find all the fasteners. 1, 2, 3. Again, everything on this saw gets Loctite. I don't care what it is. Except for like the flywheel nut, but when those come loose, they come loose. It happens. You guys ever build a saw and it goes wah bang? and you think you blew it up, but no, the flywheel come off. I've done it many times. I've had saws I never touch have the flywheel come off, so it's kind of funny. Okay, oil pump. Put that on here. Okay, just cinching them down. You don't have to reef on everything. There you go, there's the oil pump. Okay, so you got your oil pump gear. Then there's this protective washer here, okay. Clutch drum. Needle bearing. I'm gonna grease this up good so that she don't come out. Stick that into the clutch drum. Usually you gotta stick them in first or they don't wanna go, is what I find. There's this washer right here. You can see where it's rubbed right here. And then make sure everything spins freely before you reef it down. Okay, just going to pack the combustion chamber with rope. These ones you want to make sure they're real tight because the saw doesn't have a chain brake. Normally, I would fire the saw and flip the throttle 3-4 times with the chain brake on, and that'll tighten the clutch on to its final, you know, where it needs to be. Okay, now these all seem to have a cover on them. This is the cover right here. Sorry, there's two sets of screw holes. And of course, I lined it up with the wrong one. All I have left to do now, friends, is finish the pipe. So, I can't wait to hear this thing run, but it definitely needs a pipe on it when we do that. See if we can get this started. Same thing with these saws. You can have 3 saws, they're all the same model, and they'll all have a different clutch on them, is what I noticed. This thing's not cooperating. There we go. There's one. It's probably just a sausage finger issue, not a part fitment issue. When you get big mitts, these parts sometimes can be a little tricky. Come on. I'm getting more Loctite on the saw than I am, you know, anywhere else. And these look like they're going to be 1/4 inch. And I think I have a 1/4 inch on the bench here. There we go. Okay, I'm not sure where we left off. I'm just going to put the spark plug back in. Okay, there's that. These are the 2 oil lines. The longer one goes on the bottom. The curved one goes on the top. I'm just going to move you guys back here a little bit. Again, these are kind of like working on McCulloughs. If you want to work on McCulloughs, you work on McCulloughs, you kind of understand. They didn't build these to be lightweight or cheap to manufacture these days. This was like, we're gonna build the most long-lasting saw, and that's how Homelite was. Okay, it's nice. This has the gasket there. It's metal. Okay, and then you want to drop this whole assembly on like this. Now, important thing on the side here, I have to hook up the kill switch wire. You guys probably won't be able to see that, but I got to hook up the kill switch wire before I start getting this all going together, because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to reach the sausage fingers in there. There we go. Okay. Okay, and the wire is back in there. Okay, push it down, make sure nothing's binding. There's a little clip on the back to hold the spark plug wire off the cylinder. What ends up happening to these a lot of times, the spark plug wire touches the cylinder and you end up with a short. Okay, now one bolt underneath. Again, more Loctite, yet more Loctite. You think I'd have shares in it by now. This is not permanent, this is medium strength. I find that's all that saws seem to need. Just trying to show you guys how these come apart, basically, in as great of detail as I can. I like to show you guys stuff, so. Okay, so that gasket goes there, and then there's 4 5/16 bolts here, okay? And those go through and into the gas tank assembly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 1/4-inch bolts here for the auxiliary oil pump. I usually have to take one out. This one in this corner is just nuts to get at. So be prepared if you're going to take one of these apart. That one in this bottom corner is really tough. Okay, I'm going to put these bolts on. Okay, let's put this beautiful recoil on. Then we can check for spark. I'm also showing you guys kind of the order I put these together. I don't have the reeds in yet. I usually do both sides, you know, put the handle on both sides, and then I'll put the carb together. Or install the carb. This saw ran good. I looked through the carb, everything looks fine. I could put a carb kit in it if it has any issues, but again, it looked good. It looks like it's had a carb kit in, you know, and not too far in the distant past. So, okay. This is my favorite part. This is the first time you pull it over and see how much compression you have. And again, I Loctited all these bolts. Stuff will rattle out of these Homelites. They do vibrate. This is definitely a man saw. I'm sure Buchan will be able to handle it. He's got some pretty nasty saws. And again, we don't even know what this thing's going to do, right? It's the first time I've done one. Okay. Put it down on the ground. I'm going to pull this stuffing out of there. Ooh. Well, friends, I did not lose much in the way of compression. This is the first time I've pulled this saw over. Okay. Okay, friends, I get asked about this a lot. Chainsaw reeds. Here's one. There's another one. Okay. Now, I still have to clean these, but you want to make sure that these are clean and not chipped. They will chip at the ends. Homelites are bad for that. And guess where that piece goes? Okay, this is your reed block. Now, Homelites are strange. Homelites have 4 reeds in a pyramid shape, okay? Now, maybe, perhaps one day I'll do a video on how to modify these. It's more art than science, but gives you the idea. Now, you want to make sure that these fit flat and you can't see any air through them. If you get a Homelite that doesn't run good and you don't have air leaks, a lot of times you have a reed that's sticking open, and what actually happens is when you let off the throttle, the saw will be really slow to idle, and that's often a reed sticking open, or it'll just be hard to start, okay? Because it'll flood. If a reed's open, it's just flooding the whole time, okay? So this is rubber. Be very careful of these. They're made of unobtainium. Okay, make sure they're slightly pliable still, and either use grease or some sealant around there. But here's the problem. That's your impulse hole. Do not fill that with sealant or you won't get any fuel. Okay, I'm going to get cracking here and finish the assembly on this saw. Okay, and here's what the assembled reed block looks like. This thing's got some discoloring on it. I tried sanding it, and whatever that is isn't coming off, so... Okay, make sure it's clean. I put some grease on the rubber gasket. Okay, notice there's no gaps in the reed block. This one's pretty good. A lot of times with Homelites, especially if you're going to port them, you're going to find that this thing's gotten hot and it will warp, and you'll have reeds that don't fit tightly on the mating surface. That is a problem, like I described in the last clip. You'll just have a saw that doesn't run good. So You might have to sand the block. I've done that in the past to make it flat, or you have a bent reed, okay? And this just drops down inside of there this way, okay? I'm going to drop this in, and then this goes on top. This has a gasket on it. This goes on top of this, and then you start mounting your carb parts together. Okay, here's the finished carb box. So again, reeds on the cage, that rubber gasket over the reeds, intake block against the rubber gasket, or against the reed block. There's a gasket in between the intake block and there. Standard Tillotson setup with a gasket here. Here's your fuel line, goes through and into there. Throttle, choke. These are held on by a little tiny wee cotter pin. Don't lose that. If you do, you can use a piece of wire. Okay, I'm not sure where the throttle's going to be, but there you go. You can put this on there and we have a saw. Next thing to do on this saw will be put the mount back on. This one right here. And install the wrap, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to finish this saw up, friends, and I want to show you more or less the completed project. Then in the next video, I'm going to finish the pipe today. I got some welding to do and some painting. We will mount the pipe, and we will have a completed saw, and we'll attempt to start it. Be right back. Okay, friends, well, I hope that showed you a little bit more about how to assemble a Homelite. I have every tool I own on the bench right now. It's kind of funny, but that's more or less how to assemble one of these. That's how most Homelites come apart and go back together. Oh, see? Yep. That's why always take your time when you're assembling a saw. I just found that I forgot to tighten the top wrap bolt. Okay, I wish we could fire this thing up, friends. I'll get that pipe ready to rock and roll, and we'll have this thing ready to run in the next video. I am freaking excited. You guys asked all the time, how long does it take to build a saw like this? It's hard to say. With the pipe, checking it over, running it before you poured it, tearing it down, getting parts, I don't know. It probably takes about 30, 40 hours to do a saw like this. Probably about a whole work week, start to finish. And I mean every nut and bolt and stuff like that. So it's definitely labor intensive, but I love these saws, friends. This thing's gonna look rowdy when that pipe goes on. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for tagging along with me while I assemble this thing. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.